Alright, fuck it, we're starting. Welcome to the show.
Right.
This is We Have Been Watching, which is a ripoff of Charlie Brooker's You Have Been Watching, a show all about what's on the telly.
And also inspired by Mark Reads and Mark Watches, at least on my behalf.
Okay, yeah. We all have various kind of comparisons to bring to the table, which is kind of the whole point of the show. It's all these different experiences. I should really explain what the show is about now, since we've started. This is basically a experiment that is very unlikely to happen. It was very unlikely to happen. In that you get 3 people in a room, a virtual room, if you will, and hope that the 3 of them can agree to watch something that they have never seen before and know nothing about.
And not spoil themselves along the way.
Yes. And not spoil themselves or each other before discussing it live in person on the internet, virtually.
Live
Don't
in
think
person
about
on
it
the
too
internet
much.
virtually. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. And so for this, we should probably introduce ourselves because that's going to be kind of an important element, is our personalities and what we like and dislike and what our background is as far as media is concerned. So first we're going to talk about our screen names. Since you requested that, did you want to go first?
And how you... No, you can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I am xexyzl, most commonly noted. I'm going to cut you out of the recording, so don't worry about talking over me.
Polite.
Yes. I am xexyzl, most commonly on the internet. I also go by Water on the Red Water Show, which all of 5 people know about. Maybe more. Isn't that right, XilliX?
More than probably 7 at this point, or 8.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting up there in the numbers.
You're almost to 2 digits.
Also, Paul, when I'm feeling too lazy to try to get people to pronounce my screen name. But I do pronounce it xexyzl, and it comes from the Hudson Soft NES game xexyzl, xexyzl. And I just stole that name when I was 10 at a computer camp when they told me to make an email address.
And added an L?
Yeah, because I forgot how to spell it. Not surprisingly. I got most of it right, though. Which is saying something, I suppose. It's not a very good game, and I haven't played it in ages, but that's where it came from. So who wants to go next?
So would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi.
All right.
I'm Properfalse, which I don't go by anything commonly on the internet. I have a million screen names. But I come from a background of live action media fandom. So a lot of really bad sci-fi. Really bad sci-fi is my background. That's what I bring to the table. And, my screen name comes from Shakespeare, Twelfth Night. The skies I see thou art a wickedness. Oh, how the proper false and women's waxen hearts can set their forms, alas. Or, yeah, I can, yeah. That was out of order anyway. This is going fantastically.
Yeah, it was very
Billy,
out
it's
of
your
order.
turn.
You skipped a whole section, yeah.
I did, yeah.
All right, XilliX, fire away. Can't get any worse.
Okie dokie. As you can see, that is XilliX. I normally don't like to reveal myself on the internet a whole lot, but
You're not an
I'll
internet flasher.
Not really.
No revealing yourself on the internet. No chat roulette for
that
you.
would be maybe once at a LAN when we were all drunk. That's another story. Anyways, yeah, my screen name comes from me being a dumb 14-year-old, I guess.
It was around that time.
And I figured it was around that time. And I'd gone through many screen names before, like Slayer, Squished Banana, and a couple others. But I settled on this one because you could flip it up and down, around, side to side, and shift it all over the place. Like you could just play with it. That, and people like to call me Illy every once in a while, just because a bunch of little kids like putting their X's on either side of their names.
I never noticed that before in all these years. Man.
Every once in a while, I'll get the person that says ill, and
Ill.
I kind of know what it is. Just
Ill
ill.
Bill.
I get
Right
prop,
on.
which is fun because it's like, oh, it's like
Props to
you're
you.
a prop.
Prop.
You just move. Yes, exactly.
It's somewhat
Okay.
appropriate considering
Alright.
your like theater back. All right, so XilliX, go ahead.
Exactly.
Since Proper
Oh.
already discussed her background with media. What is your background with media, specifically visual media?
Oh. Okay. Let's see here.
2
I've
minutes
played
or
video
less.
games ever since I learned how to crawl. Okay. Been playing video games ever since I learned how to crawl, from like the Genesis all the way up to the PC, PS Triple, all that other good stuff. So I've played a lot of platformers, RPGs, and whatnot. But I tend to stick with RPGs, fantasy, roleplay, in some ways or another.
Absolutely.
I like.
I said absolutely. I was agreeing with your choice of games.
Oh, but yes. But I mean, I tend the occasional shooter as well, and I've been addicted to League of Legends as of late. I need to uninstall that piece of shit someday.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's horrifying. Let's see. I enjoy comedies. I enjoy sci-fi. I enjoy
Long walks
some
on the beach.
animus. Long walks on the beach.
Animus.
If you'd hold my hand every once in a while, yes. Animus. Let's see here. But I try to be as mobile as I possibly can when it comes to media. I like a large variety.
And so
Oh.
for me, I'm probably more similar to XilliX in terms of media tastes than Prop, simply because of the fact that we've been friends for so long and we kind of influence each other. So much the same.
Yeah,
started
actually, you can
gaming
see
when I
the
was, like,
posters behind me. Pretty accurately represent my my media background. Yes, Fight
that's
Club,
great.
and
We've
you
got-
have
We've got anime posters in our background. You have Fight Club and what was that?
Super Friends,
Best
which I never actually watched. Yeah, Super Best
Super Friends.
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually kind of ironic. You know, actually now that I think about that, that's pretty great. Those two are some of your favorite animes, right, XilliX?
Yeah. I love Gainax. Gainax is pretty cool in my book.
All right. And I would say the same for me, Satoshi Kon, Gainax. So there you have it.
And my great love is, you know, Fight Club and crappy DC superheroes.
Yeah, I would say for me, I had this whole kind of spiel. I don't know whether to call myself an anime fan or not, because as Proper likes to say, I'm like the most elitist anime fan there is, to the
The
point where
most
I don't even know
judgmental,
if I.
unhappy anime fan.
Yeah, to the point where it's not even really
Not current.
correct.
Not a current anime fan. Not a
Oh,
current
yeah.
anime fan.
Well, yeah, I have very, very specific tastes. I mean, as one should if they're watching anime.
Yes, quite.
I'd say definitely more recently, I've been exposed to a lot more live action television and a lot of kind of different perspectives, which is kind of the genesis for this idea anyways. So without further ado, because we have wasted quite a lot of time on that, we're going to introduce not wasted, spent. Well spent time.
Well used.
The show we managed to find that amazingly none of us had seen, but all of us agreed we'd want to try watching, was The Prisoner, which I would give background on it, but kind of the point is that I don't know a lot of background on it. I know it is a
Word.
British science fiction television
I thought it was
series
American.
from, I believe, 1965, and it ran for 17 episodes, and it's considered a cult classic and kind of a hallmark of, I don't know, British television.
Do we want to discuss our preconceptions of it
Yes.
before we'd ever watch the pilot going into it?
Before we ever sat down and actually watched the first episode, which is all we've seen so far, we wrote down pretty much everything we could come up with that we knew about the show or thought we knew about the show. So I don't know who wants to go first. I don't have many on my list. And I'll be straightforward. Right here is that the main thing I know about The Prisoner is when it's compared to Evangelion. Oftentimes the endings are compared, the end of
No, don't
not
spoil
the-
me. You're spoiling me somehow.
it's you have to know this. The end of Evangelion, not the movie, the end of the show is often considered to be much like or perhaps inspired by the end of The Prisoner. I don't know what that means. It could mean probably anything. So that was the main thing I knew about it. Beyond that, I think I've seen some like promotional materials, like the bicycle, kind of a Globe City thing. Like my closest comparison was Razafon. If you know the Razafon kind of Tokyo ball.
Oh, I've seen other animes with Tokyo covered by a thing.
Yeah. And that is basically it. That's basically all I knew. Something to do with a bicycle, Evangelion, and that ball thing.
All right.
So go ahead, Proper.
For me, I thought it was an American show. I was wrong. I thought it was in black and white. I was really sure it was in black and white. And when I first played it and it was like super ultra Technicolor 60s, I was a little surprised. I knew it was a drama mystery show. I knew it was set on either, an island or something secluded. The way that I wrote it is, the main character is a guy who wakes up on the island and is like, hey, why am I here? What's happening? He's referred to by a number. I don't know if he has amnesia or not. I was guessing there weren't going to be any polar bears a la Lost, but actually something in the episode did actually make me think of the polar bear from Lost, of like, suddenly something inexplicable. I knew that it was sort of a mystery show. I knew it was compared to a lot of the weirder sci-fi that I like, sort of cerebral, what's happening, psychological, not quite horror, but like psychological sci-fi. I wrote, the main dude might be law enforcement. I think maybe he's supposed to be respectable. And I was pretty sure there were going to be essentially no women in the show. I was wrong.
Only slightly. At least so far.
Only slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a Bechdel test pass, I will be amazed.
I would not hold your breath for that. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
No.
XilliX, go ahead. What were your preconceptions?
I thought the show was going to be like, I don't know, like either reality TV or something like that, but no, because I was thinking like
Other
a traditional
shows,
prisoner, like prison bars
Survivor,
and stuff.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
The show
no,
set in a prison.
No, I knew that was dashed immediately when I started downloading it because it's like, oh, it's British television from the '60s. Never mind. It could be.
That's probably
just
not.
like I kind of.
Did you know when it had
I don't
aired?
know. No, I did not. It just looked very, very old in the preview, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be much more somber. I thought it would be sort of like a somber, serious, mysterious, kind of like some of the old school like Twilight Zone or Outer Limits episodes where it's very.
I was
And
definitely
instead
kind of getting
there's
that
that, like-
vibe off of it. Was that it was supposed to be like this kind of super serious psychological drama kind of thing.
And then you start the first episode.
But then you start okay, and we can now talk about our initial reactions if you like. The first episode. Boy, howdy.
Intro. Oh my god. Okay, actually, wait. Xexyzl put on the wrong episode for me. So
That's right. Yeah. But the intro is the same
Xexyzl.
in the second episode.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
the intro is the same. Yeah. Spoilers, the intro is the same. But yeah, so my first impression was actually the intro and then a little bit of the second episode, which I won't mention. But god, the intro was super like Austin Powers, Starsky and Hutch, 60s cop spy colors everywhere. I was not expecting that. He's like in a car and he's driving around, he hands in his resignation, everything's really like angry and serious, no dialogue and also like jazzy at the same time.
Yeah, I honestly the most base kind of comparison I could draw was the Avengers, 60s British spy-fi. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of that in tone and style and kind of visual aesthetic. It's like super kind of cheesy, loud, very in your face British television from the 60s. Like, I don't know how else to say it. You know it when you see it. It's like very, very distinguishable from television nowadays. XilliX, what were your first impressions?
Don't know what to say. You guys pretty much said it for me. I was thinking very mysterious. I wrote down notice his eyes at the opening cutscene. Is he smirking in the shadows while he's going down, or is he trying to maintain a stoic attitude? I don't know.
Yeah, I just loaded up my. Sorry to overlap you. I just loaded up my episode reactions. My first line is, "Oh wow, I was wrong. It isn't black and white. It's ultra sick."
My first line was Steve McQueenie vibes or 007.
Yeah, I said. I noted that the file system is really cool. Like you see them put his file into the resign folder, and it's that great cool mechanized filing system. I really liked the filing system, and I said it was like the weirdest, cheesiest Starsky and Hutch cop show intro.
Yeah, that's. It doesn't really smack of kind of psychological science fiction drama. At least not the beginning.
No.
Not the intro.
No.
XilliX, I'm going to let you talk since you haven't been speaking much. Just give us your thoughts on the first episode. You don't have to start from the beginning and go chronologically. You can just say anything about it.
I really liked it, and definitely immediately after he wakes up, I knew this was going to be like the Truman Show. That's what I was getting the impression. Yes. And I was like, oh, okay, this should be interesting. So I kind of braced myself for kind of expecting that and paying attention to everybody's facial reactions and the way they talk to each other. That was very critical because this was a self-aware Truman. So this should be interesting.
That's an interesting comparison. I had seen the Truman Show, but I didn't make that comparison when I was watching it at all. Although it seems pretty obvious now.
I have Truman Show in my notes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Truman
Show is one of my favorite movies, but sorry.
Same, God, I love that movie. I was noticing the political stuff. One of the first characters you see that he interacts with is the driver of the taxi, and she speaks in English, and then in French, and then she says that she's expecting Poles and Czechs. And then I added that I don't remember enough about xexyzl's politics in the UK to know exactly how significant that was.
It probably was.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of Cold War era. The thing that I noticed is that nobody in the show ever mentions the USSR.
They don't even mention Britain. I don't think they ever say Britain by name, do they?
Not that I remember.
Not that I remember.
They don't say like MI6 or what organization they're in or whatever.
Yeah.
No, but you have the heavy impression that he is.
Yeah, he does seem super, super English. But no, you're right. I don't think they ever mention England, and they don't mention the U.S. But that's it's a British show. I wouldn't expect them to name check it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was I thought the village was charming. Like I thought it was, I know it's supposed to be really terrifying. I thought it was adorable, and they had all of the amenities, and they had like a senior people's home, and it was really cute.
Yeah,
and the signs all had the same font. It was nicely made.
It was very pleasant for a prison, basically. And even I don't know if should we bring up the ball?
We might
the dirty bubble.
Jump right into it.
It's like the most benign peacekeeping symbol like I've ever seen.
That thing terrified me.
I don't know.
It was kind of scary, but kind of just hilarious. I don't know.
Well, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first time we see the ball, I called it the balloon or the blob. My notes just descend into screaming caps lock. I really like the moment where you see the ball where the guy's giving this speech in sort of the courtyard, and then he yells, "Be still," and everybody goes super still. And if you notice, the fountains turn off.
Yeah, the fountains stop.
Which I thought was hilarious. Like, how do you explain that to your plumbers? Like, we need our fountains to be able to stop on a verbal cue and then restart again.
So that the ball won't attack the fountains or something.
Right? And then exactly. And because that's kind of the first time we see it, I thought that the balls were like a rogue agent. But then later, the powers that be seem to use them intentionally to keep people in line.
I know that they're like technically controlling them, but I kind of get the sense that the balloons are like sentient, or perhaps more like the Dementors, more so than, you know, a machine or what have you.
Yeah,
there's a possibility that they're not entirely controllable, like they're
balloon Dementors.
Yeah, balloon Dementors, basically. So I'm wondering if that might be something that comes up later. Not to get into predictions yet, we're gonna show that to the end, but like, you know, are they really in control of the balloon? I don't know. I could just be reading too much into it.
I don't know, man. That first scene where they say be still and all of the people who are law-abiding, perfectly happy prisoners, everybody has to freeze and all the enforcement people have to freeze, that's pretty telling. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah. I'm looking, I didn't have nearly as many notes as Proper did, but...
I have like 9 pages of notes.
Yeah, a lot of notes. A few things I want to talk about, just go all film school on this, and not critical theory. We can get into that later, but just kind of the mechanics of this show. The opening especially, and a lot of it is very kind of fast paced. I think there's a lot of fast cutting.
Yeah.
I think it's abnormally fast.
That's I think that's one of my very first notes for the show.
They cram a lot of stuff in the first episode. So
one of my first notes is stop cutting, editor, I'm trying to watch.
Yeah, the thing that struck me the most was that exchange with oh, that's terrible, I can't remember her name. The woman who was kind of in a relationship with Cobb. When he first meets her, and they cut back and forth, and like the negative space around each of them is so contrasting, and they're cutting so fast, like on every line. It was like really kind of jarring to watch. And I think the music, especially the music in this show, is insane. The
Mulberry Bush song.
I just can't handle like. And they just fuck with the music so much. There's just like the tone, like the music doesn't know what, or it's like intentionally smashing against the tone of whatever you're watching a lot of the time, and the music's tone changes throughout the song, and they're usually only like 10-second, maybe 15-second at most pieces of music, but they still undergo like dramatic changes over the course of the song. Not the diegetic song, although that's something you could also talk about, the diegetic music in the apartment. I have this little clip here. I'm just going to play it through since I can right now. The sound mix, I don't know if this was a product of the times, maybe budgetary constraints or something, but the sound mix was very strange in this episode too. There was, I don't know if it might have just been our copy. XilliX, did you notice, like, when he was walking around the apartment when the music was playing, there were very kind of strange Foley effects when he was like going through the papers and stuff. Let me play this for you.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was just an issue with our copy, but
I didn't notice it as much there. I remember later, I noted that his shoes were really loud. I said, man, his shoes are noisy. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
There's a couple places where they do really odd things with the sound and Foley, I think.
It's either a combination of kind of low production value aesthetics, like those sounds were very kind of, there was too much delay and reverb on them, which could have just been a technical glitch, but it could be also because of all the other elements are so in your face. I think they were trying to really highlight a lot of actions and things, and kind of overemphasizing things with the sound mix. So where they push a lot of things up, and I mean it's traditionally like television shows are mastered more normalized than films are, because in a theater you can hear the dynamic range of really soft and really loud a lot, but on a television set usually it's more constant volume so that people can kind of catch everything. Like all the dialogue is usually like pushed up, like right up to the upper limits. The music is often pushed up when it's there's no dialogue or what have you. But this seems a little different from the traditional sound mixing style. What that says narratively and all that kind of stuff, I have no idea. It was just something that kind of stood out to me.
Okay, so xexyzl, my guess is you're going to be noticing a lot of, like you said, film school stuff. You know, the cinematography, the sound. XilliX, what stood out to you?
Mostly repetition and symbolism.
Ooh.
Just the objects that were repeating themselves, namely lamps, all sorts of lamps, lava lamps as well.
Oh, the lava
Lamps, so many lava lamps.
So many. Bikes.
I love when you get to the point where you're in Mewtwo's office and there's a lava lamp in the corner and then a giant projection of a lava lamp on the wall.
Yeah. I love that. Also, as before in the opening credits, a lot of emphasis is on the eyes. Later, when they go through his files, when they photographed him a ton, it's all his eyes. Like, it's his face or his eyes or some angle of it. There's almost little to no back of the head shots, if any, that I remember. So I thought, so once again, communication is going to be really, really key, and the language that he uses immediately after getting caught is always interrogation, always questioning. He seems a little bit hot-headed and willing to reveal more, and the ones in control, they're a lot more cool, level-headed, and they reveal as much as they wish to. Like, it goes in steps, like there's little steps when he's testing each boundary. And I thought it was very interesting. That and the bikes. Bikes everywhere.
Yeah.
The giant that was plain. But yeah, also a lot of things are voice activated, but other than the fountains.
But yeah, speaking of the number thing of how Six responds to things, I love that because there's a point where someone says they turn to him and they say, "Is your number 6?" And he has no idea what's going on yet, and he immediately snap answers yes.
He's like, what?
Which is...
I thought he said what?
But he just agrees. I thought he said yes.
I think he said what?
No, he said, someone said, you're number 6, and he says, what? And he's like, everyone has a number.
No,
And he's like,
later.
I am not a number.
Everyone has a number.
No. But that stuck me out too because it's earlier in the episode. It's really early in the episode.
Are you talking about when he gets the call on the phone in his place, and he's like, are you number 6? And he looks, and there's like 6 on the phone, and he's like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's when he's first being introduced to the house. You see like the doll, and they're doing the whole, moving around the house they have set up for him, and yeah, someone says, "Is your number 6?" And he says, "Yes." And then later, someone says, "You're right." They do something about that, and he says, "What?" And I thought that was really ridiculous because earlier in the episode, he immediately said yes, and he's been answering to 6 this whole time. I didn't like the moment where he's like, "What? 6?"
No, I think that works continuity wise because I think he believes they're referring to they're referring to his house. Up until that point. Yeah. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Disagree.
When I go back through and edit
Disagree.
This. I will recomb this footage.
Okay. I will be right.
I don't think you will be far and away right. You may be technically right in that he responds to the number 6. I don't think he's responding to the number 6 as his identifier. I think until that conversation, he's responding to it as kind of like, that's the house that he's in, that's the telephone, the number on the telephone that he answers. But I don't think he considers himself
housemate.
number
He's
6.
better lit now.
Yes. Cool beans.
Oh,
Very
so
well lit.
yes. Okay, so I do in the background. Okay, so we have
Mhm.
Xexyzl focusing on cinematography, sound. We have XilliX focusing on
I
symbology.
wouldn't say I just
Um,
focused on that. Come on.
Well, no, but like, it's something that like immediately stuck out to you. For me, what immediately stuck out to me was the politics and the propaganda of the village, um, especially
Ooh,
the
yeah.
signage. The signage, I love the signage. Um, a still tongue makes a happy life, and later that's referenced
Mhm.
again. Uh, the other one in the same vein, questions are a burden to others, answers a prison to oneself. I love that. And then here's the one that
Mhm.
really gets me. That's that sign saying, "All the people, by the people, for the people," and the
I thought it was of
references
the people, by the
to
people, for the people.
all the people. I don't. I
Okay.
remember I skipped back a couple times in the
Yeah.
chat. We can double check it in the,
Yeah.
but I remember it being
Mhm.
all the people, and I remember because
Strangely
it's
enough. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
it's very Lockean. It's very. I mean, it's not like my first instinct is it's very American, but no, it's very it's very Lockean. And
Mhm.
they have a democratic council. Um, it's this very weird thing of like, we're a prison, run by like overlords and giant balloons, and it's full of ex-spies. But also we have a democratically elected council. You can serve on it if you like.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you were. I might as well bring up the main too deep for you message that I got out of this. That I actually
Are we really
spent some
gonna make
time.
predictions?
No, 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 no. I'm just talking about the premise of the show.
Oh.
The main kind of, I guess, ideological thrust that I got out of this, that I actually wrote about in my thing here, is it's hard for me to just. I'll just read some of it. There's like two main driving forces for the premise of the show, in my opinion. This is my opinion, obviously, and they both kind of feed off each other, but are not necessarily inherent to each other. The people who captured Six want information from him. They're trying all sorts of different tactics, and they are slowly escalating. They even say that, severe
no extreme measures to
or
be used
extreme measures will not be taken yet, because the information he has is really
Yeah.
valuable.
And
And
later people
this,
keep saying either you talk or they make you talk.
yeah.
Either you talk or they take it.
The second driving force behind the show is that Six wants to escape, and that's it. He doesn't need a better reason than that to escape. However, it's clear that he is hiding information.
Oh.
The great thing about this premise, though, is that he does not have to give justification to the audience. He doesn't have to tell the audience what he knows, because his excuse is he wants to escape. We can't ask for more of him than that. We can't ask him to give us information, because they're holding him against his will. His wanting freedom is justification enough for pretty much all of his actions, is what I said. Why doesn't he just tell them and they'll let him go? The audience is being stupid. Six, and by extension the audience, realized early on that escape is the only way out. Whatever his ulterior motives, the overt motive of simply wanting to get out and only having the one option, escape, allows for a lot of freedom for the show to tease things out of Six at whatever pace they decide works best.
I like that. And I also think that one of the obstacles that Six provides within the narrative is that he's proven before the show starts and whatever happened that made him resign that he has hard limits and will stick to them. And I got the impression that he resigned because of politics, because at one point, the maid, let me see if I can find it in the notes. He's talking with the maid, and she says, well, one thing she says is, with that knowledge in your head, you really believe they'd let you
With
go?
that knowledge in your head, you really believe that they'd let you go.
Where is it? Control F, politics.
Do you mind if I say something?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I got it.
All right.
Okay, so he's talking to the maid, and No, I'm sorry. It's later when they're doing the personality test, that really weird personality test. And they say what they're going to look for. They say what you were, what you want to be, any family illnesses,
Politics.
and then they say any politics. Yes, and then he smashes the thing over and runs away.
He smashes the Tinker Toys. He's like, fuck your Tinker Toys.
Tinker Toys! I was trying to remember the name of them.
I don't know. Was the Tinker Toys supposed to be a real thing, or were they just messing with him?
I don't know.
I don't think it matters. Like, either way, I guess it gets the point across. Like, personality test.
Yeah,
He's like spinning Tinker Toys. Like, what the fuck?
Right?
Yeah, it's interesting the political angle of the show, because what I really see this being, I don't want to boil this down to a metaphor, especially not yet, but I think a lot of the show has to do with basically cruel and unusual punishment, or more accurately, torture. Essentially, the show is about torture, and what is an acceptable amount of torture. They're not physically torturing him yet. They're slowly building up a kind of psychological method to extract information from him. And it's kind of like, yeah, they're holding him against his will, which, you know, you could argue is obviously wrong. But I think kind of what the show is going to do is, when they start escalating, they're going to try to find that point where the audience says, all right, they went too far here. And I think possibly that is what the show's characters were trying to get at, is like, what really is torture?
I think that...
Is it waterboarding, or is it...
Well, they already showed, like, that group of blindfolded guys in the pink hallway. So I think that they're not
It's Chekhov's gun
holding
if I've ever seen
back...
one.
Yeah, right? Where they're not really holding back with sort of the movement towards psychological torture. And the fact that everyone keeps saying, you know, either you tell them or they'll take it. You know, Cobb says the same thing, that he wouldn't tell them, so they're sort of taking it. And obviously Cobb's, you know, an agent or whatever. But I think that he wasn't lying about that that's what they do. I think he was playing the part of an actual prisoner, and that's what they do to actual prisoners.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the question is where, like, how far do they go, I guess? And what constitutes psychological torture? Is it just keeping someone prisoner? Or do you have to do more than that? And how much more, I guess? Because, I mean, you could make the argument, like, they're well cared for. They get food and water and bedding and, like, amenities
and ice cream
and entertainment. Yeah. So how could you say it's torture?
But they also get credits.
You know? Yeah.
Right,
They do have
that's
currency,
the thing
and they do have a democracy.
Yes.
They
and
have
like,
inner
work cards.
politics.
They do.
I mean,
that's what...
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Okay.
There's a god with his Tinker Toys playing around with it, but it's all self-contained anyway.
So you're saying because of the fact that it's not actually it's less a prison and more a society. It's not.
Well, that's what he wants it to be, because there's still him coming in there, intruding on the society, saying, "Hey, you know, you doing something right? All right." Withdraws. Go about your lives, and I'm sure, you know, in normal life, since they all kind of walk around anyway, this is just a new prisoner. This is what we got to do. Just act natural.
The logistics of the village was driving me nuts the entire time, because, okay, so the maid says that, you know, she didn't have a family or something. You get the impression that she was maybe orphaned, she didn't have anywhere else to go.
They died when I was
But then I started wondering, you know, where do all the service people come from? And did you guys, you see the utilities guy who comes in, I'm sorry, the electrics guy who comes in to fix the stereo that he breaks, and then Six passes the gardener, who's the same guy?
The gardener was the same guy? I did not notice that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Some
so,
employees, yeah.
Yeah, so
Sorry, go ahead.
you kind of have the two options of, like, twins? Genetically engineered servants? You know, it could go either way. But, okay, so you have this village. You have a village where you have, you know, you have work cards, like XilliX was saying. You have credits. You have an economy. You have a council. You have, they even said they have, like, you know, amateur theatrics. You have a functioning village. yeah, so you have a functioning village with its own governance. But where do all of the support staff come from? Like, is everyone in the village, an ex-spy or an ex-military person like the admiral, where they know too much to be allowed to roam freely, and so they're all like contained here? Except then, where do you get all the support staff?
Slaves, I guess. I don't know.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and ties into my predictions. But
is that right? Yeah, I mean, I assume
go ahead.
Obviously whoever created the village has got a lot of power and money to do this kind of thing. So either they have the power and money to get slaves or make slaves in the form of, I guess, genetically engineered workers. Was what you were saying, or twins? I don't know. I mean,
or twins,
or the same guy,
or they could be hired.
Who knows?
I don't know where they, find applicants for that kind of job, where you have to live there forever. But
evilhenchman.co.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of a temp agency.
Mm-hmm.
It's a permanent live there until you die agency.
Okay.
We are your family now.
Somehow I don't think it's likely, but I do kind of like the whole Brave New World sort of idea of they just build this caste system, and they make the people for each caste or whatever. You're going to be gardener / electrician. You're going to be driver, and what have you.
There's a couple little things that trip me out though. Like they have over the announcement system before they have the giant balloon attack with the Be Still. They say, well, first of all, they're very concerned that it's going to rain. Like they seemed really overly concerned. This is an important announcement letting you know that there's a slight chance of Six looks up and it's like slight chance of precipitation. And then they say that they have ice cream for sale. It's not like we have ice cream in the cafeteria. It's we have ice cream for sale, and only one flavor. So, I guess they're importing that from somewhere, and then you have all the logistics of where are you importing it from, and why are you not making it there, and how much are they making on... Like, I got really wrapped up in the minutia of, like, where does their food come from?
So maybe this is a government-sponsored prison camp. They said, basically, I think, well, they were concerned about his loyalties to whomever, whether it was a government or an independent agency or what have you. So if it's the government, like the British government, maybe the British government is sponsoring this and they're getting people for all this stuff. Because, British television show, the British government is all powerful, right? They can do whatever they want.
Right, yeah. If they can levy a TV tax, surely they can build, a village in the middle of the mountains. I do like the map, though, because you see it's like mountain, 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 and then, like, sea.
Yeah.
And that doesn't give you a lot of information, because, yeah.
I'd like that map as a poster
I love
or
the
something.
font of the map. Yeah. It was almost kind of Lord of the Ringsies, just like Lord of the Rings-y. Mountain, mountain, mountain.
I'm looking at my other notes to see if there's anything else I can drop in before we get to our predictions. His memoranda. He when he's going through the house, he picks up the today's memoranda book, and he turns to the page that's the day that's happening. Yeah, and it says, I love the notice. It's arrived today, made very welcome. And he gets kind of annoyed and he like pushes it away. But man, what if the next page is already written in? It's like, what if every page of his stay there is already written? Who's writing that? Whose job is that? Does it predict the future? Go back to the memoranda book. I wanted that. Maybe he did toss it aside too soon. That's a
or maybe they're just trying to fool him. Because also, or maybe they can read his mind, since earlier when he says eggs, toast, for his coffee and his tea, it all magically appears after he says it. It's introduced afterwards, after they say the word, which once again some sort of voice thing going on.
Well, I actually made a note of that when I first watched it. I think if I noticed, I said, is it sci-fi breakfast or mind games?
They want him to think that they control his thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a note
It's
of
like-
that scene in that I thought another example of Six snap answering things. You know, are you Six? Yes. How do you like your, this? He seems to have a really immediate snap response answer, which is like an interesting skill, and it's an interesting personality type to do that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was going to say is my early impression, my early preconception of this is something like Evangelion, or at least the end. No, this protagonist is the polar opposite of Shinji.
Yes.
This is the most as passive a protagonist as Shinji is, as active a protagonist as Six is. He does this protagonist is burning through data like nobody's business. He's just torching through like plot. Like he established the setting in like 5 minutes. Like it's amazing how fast they build the world in here. It was pretty incredible.
You're right. That's a great character note too, because he immediately starts like trying to tear it apart. I mean, when he walks into the house and there's music playing, the first thing he does is grab the stereo and smash it. Will that fix the noise? And he rifles through all the closets. Do you guys want to talk about Cobb and Hat Lady?
Yes, we haven't brought them up really.
Also, is Cobb the only one with a name?
I don't know.
Well, I think
other than Six.
I assume he had a number when he was in the village, but the people called him Cobb who knew him outside of the village. But then again, the lady seemed to know. Well, he probably told her his name. I'm guessing, if they were close like that. I don't know what his number was. I think he might have had a number. I don't know if they ever said it.
Does everybody in the village? Yeah, does everyone in the village have an I know the serving staff didn't seem to, but like the admiral and people, most of them seem to have something like on their, on their collar, but I couldn't ever read their numbers. Most of them seem to be at least 2 digits long.
I mean, I assume it's the same as the housing, since number 6 lives in number 6. But maybe the serving staff are in the thousands or whatever, and like 1 through 9, like 0 through 9 is like the prime quarters for like the really, really high up staff and the really, really high up prisoners, or something like that.
And they do say that if he cooperates, he can rise in rank, and obviously like the position of 2 is something that you can, it's a position you can like move up into that position. It's not.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you think some of the staff are like former prisoners, or I guess current prisoners who just moved up in rank and kind of bought into the system?
That's
maybe. Like I get that impression from
like
you too.
Is everyone there a prisoner? It's just some have given up on escaping and tried to basically, pay the price of admission and make the best of their life there, in kind of exploiting the other prisoners.
How complicit they are.
It's possible, but you kind of get the impression, at least where they're leading you as the audience, they're leading you towards thinking they're the staff. They're like, over everybody. But it would be a really interesting twist if it turns out that everybody there was prisoners, and it's just like, these people just get dumped off there, and nobody ever leaves. They just, come in and die. And it's all run by the prisoners.
Yes. Something in Cobb's, in one of Cobb's scene at the very end, when you see that he's still alive and he was obviously an agent or whatever.
I just dashes that because Cobb leaves, but whatever. All right. So some people do leave. I was going to say that actually completely dashes my theory because Cobb leaves.
But he goes to, it sounds like he's going to another village, because they're saying, they say something about him having new masters, and they say, Cobb says, I'll tell them there are no loopholes.
I'll tell them there are no loopholes. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I remember that line. I didn't know what it meant. I have no idea what that means.
No. It reminds me, though, of, did either of you see Dollhouse?
No.
No.
I mean, you told me the premise and showed me some vids, but...
Yeah, super quick summary. Dollhouse, near future sci-fi, show by Joss Whedon, who did Buffy. The premise is that there are essentially these companies, these buildings called dollhouses, where inside are people who signed away control of their body for some amount of time, and while they're under that contract, they're essentially mind wiped into being a blank slate, and then new personalities are put onto them whenever there's an order that comes in. Like, someone writes in an order, I would like someone for my bachelor party who is this, 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 and this, and has these skills and this type of personality, and they imprint that on a doll and send them out. But partway through the show, you realize that there are other doll houses, and they're kind of in a, not quite competition. They're sort of all under the same corporate umbrella, but there's a very uneasy tension between them, and that's the first thing that I thought of when Cobb was saying, I'll go back to wherever, tell your new master something, something, something. There are no loopholes, but I didn't know what loopholes meant. Also, XilliX, say something. I feel like we're talking over you too much.
Yeah.
Oh.
Drop us
no.
some wisdom.
I don't have that in spades.
Write down all the predictions you made when you were high. Or tell us all the predictions you wrote down when you were high, rather.
Oh, don't worry, I still am. No, kidding. Let's see here. I'm thinking, I'm really, really ascribing to the idea that a lot of these people are also prisoners themselves. Recently, I come into contact with Philip Zimbardo, who did the Stanford prison experiments way back in the day. And got to meet him, shake his hand, give him a hug.
You met him! I love this
You
guy.
met you with him on Facebook, don't you? Or no, that was Steven.
Well, with Steven.
Yeah.
But I took the picture, yeah.
I love Philip Zimbardo. I have books of his, and I used to have articles that I had printed out from him and stapled, and they were in my bedside cabinet when I was in high school.
Oh, I got somebody for you to meet then. But yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Anyways,
So what were the
I'm
prison
thinking.
experiments?
Oh yeah, the prison experiments. Would you like to explain? I think you'd probably do it better than I do, because. I mean, I love the guy, but I mean, I still need to completely read over the Lucifer Effect, so I have not finished that yet.
I don't have it finished either. I have it on my shelf in my room.
I remember learning about the Lucifer Effect once, and then I forgot. The name does ring a bell though.
But XilliX, if you want to describe the Stanford prison experiment, you're welcome to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. It was basically Philip Zimbardo. He wanted to see why on earth guards subjugate prisoners and why it sort of becomes a system. And you become mentally ascribed to being a prisoner or to being a guard, and you take more and more drastic measures as you need to get stuff done. And the only limit was that they couldn't use any violence. That was the only thing they couldn't do. But still, the guards got to do some really nasty things to the prisoners over time. At first, it required covering their head, doing embarrassing things. It's based off of a lot of torture prison stuff that people have found over the years in, just different countries and stuff, like some Iraq torture and...
and Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not Guantanamo.
Guantanamo Bay, that's... Yeah, Guantanamo Bay, that's what I was trying to think of. I don't know why that skipped my mind.
Yeah, and the logistics of the experiment were that they took, I forget how many, but a big chunk of college guys, they were all put through psychological testing to make sure they were all, pretty much baseline normal. And they were randomly
They were all pretty
assigned
much psych
into,
students.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And they were all randomly assigned into guard or guard or prisoner. And yeah, it escalated so quick. And it was funny, they did it in the basement of a building in Stanford. They just sort of made it into a makeshift prison. And it escalated so quickly that even Zimbardo didn't notice how bad it had gotten until one of his coworkers said, "You need to stop this." And he's like, "Okay, we'll wind down the experiment." And she's like, "No, I mean right this minute you need to stop it."
Then his girlfriend, now his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's also a nice lady.
You know a lot
doing,
about this guy, don't you?
Other stuff.
Unexpectedly fanish about, psychological researchers.
Oh, I've become recently infatuated with Stephen Hayes, but that's just me. Anyways, continuing on with Stephen Hayes, he's a psychotherapist / does a lot of evolutionary biology stuff. It's I need to look more into him because get some.
XilliX, you were saying.
Yes. Anyway,
you started on your predictions. You said that everyone was a prisoner, or not everyone, but most people there were prisoners.
I'm guessing most people there are prisoners, but there's also real guards in there, like the electrician. Like he's the real one, and there's very few of them, very few actual, musclehead employees that keep people in line, that are getting paid directly from whoever's controlling all this, compared to the prisoners, who are all just either prisoners of war, prisoners of espionage, because people are arrested for espionage all the time. Ambassadors, secret agents from various countries, hence why that one chick spoke French. Varying languages. So this could be a hodgepodge of people all over Europe, or wherever, or the world, in fact. And we just haven't met some of these people too. I'm guessing there's a lot more characters to be revealed, since it goes for so many episodes. It just can't be too warring at size. There's got to be factions coming up. Which brings me over to the button. He tears off his button immediately when he's given his button that has the bicycle on it. So I'm figuring, kind of a lame prediction, but I figure if more people ascribe maybe to his idealism of trying to escape and taking a gung-ho approach to getting the hell out of here, and more people subvertly joining him, eventually being able to tackle the system from within itself. That's my prediction. If he manages to constantly fight this nagging atrophy to finally fall into this very pleasant world around him that he's trying to subversively fight, because if he overtly does it over the course of the pilot, he learns very quickly he can't escape by any conventional means whatsoever.
The helicopter scene.
And the helicopter scene. Remote controlled
What
helicopter,
fantastic
yes.
overkill is that? Like, let the guy get away in the helicopter, let him, smash your guard, and then re-land the just to prove, that you're dick so you can control him.
Exactly. They're really trying to break him, completely. Yeah. And, yeah, my guess is, explicitly what I wrote down, is over the course of his time here, he will persuade every townsmember, or as many as he can, to simultaneously open doors, or shut off cameras, or otherwise helping in his escape. Let's see. Bubble is pure
Sounds
knockout. Right. And it could be semi-permeable, because maybe the gas, it's some sort of knockout gas that's semi-permeable to whatever they do, because they see him breathing up against it every time they get knocked out. It's not just, a conk on the head or something. It's mostly non-lethal.
Oh, the balloon thing?
The balloon.
I wasn't sure if they were supposed to be lethal or not, or if they were just supposed to, suffocate you until you get passed out, and then they pick you up.
That's what it seemed like to me. That or they ate you, I wasn't sure. Either they just suffocate you, the way that cling wrap over your face will suffocate you, or they eat you and you're never seen again.
Oh my god, that freaked me out. I thought, it would absorb him and then, float away with him, never to be seen again.
They're
just
scary.
Oh shit.
They're scary.
I'm hoping that Six brings a pencil at some point and just pokes it, because I want to see what happens.
Gets something very sharp and tries to slice it.
Right? Eventually we have to see one break, especially because the way that they wobble, it looks like a balloon about to explode, and is there liquid inside? Is there people inside? Will it spill out everyone they've ever eaten? Will it rip a hole in time and space?
We don't know.
Option.
Could be.
Alright, Xexyzl, what were your predictions?
I actually have already gone over many of mine. The stuff with the ball, hopefully he brings a knife or scissors at some point so we can see what happens when you try to stab it. I was guessing that I think there's gonna be a point where he breaks out, or seemingly breaks out. And it's probably gonna be that kind of half to 3/4 turning point that's in a lot of television, at least television that I've seen. But it's not going to be permanent, or it wasn't going to be real. It was going to be kind of a psychological thing where maybe he was hallucinating or what have you. But I do think there's going to get to a point where he gets far enough that he thinks he's finally escaped for reals, and that's not the case.
I wonder if the boat has something to do with that, because that's a second option. That's a second option, I think, which could be his false escape or his real escape. Don't know which, but tying into your theory, XilliX, I definitely agree to what you're saying. He will
because they do have that
probably
fake sea. That at the bottom of the map there was the sea.
Mm-hmm.
The sea.
I mean, the boat wouldn't be as useful in the mountains.
Yeah,
You just go out
because
to
I mean,
sea.
the only other way you're gonna get out, only way you're
Yeah.
gonna get out is through like tunnels or through the helicopter or the boat. Those are the only ways.
My other
Minos bars
prediction.
both land and air, but cannot. Oh, sorry. Minos bars both land and sea, but cannot hold the air. Ovid's Metamorphosis.
My only other predictions. These are pretty quaint.
What I bring is
predictions.
like misquoted classical literature. That's what I bring to
Yes.
the table. Misquoted classical literature.
So smart. I think this is pretty much a guarantee. Six will spend some time in the purple room. I don't see why they would have shown us that in the first episode otherwise. Also, I love that he wakes up to that old lady rocking on the chair, who never shows up again.
Yeah, my notes for that are like, Grandma, I think you're on the wrong show. I think that's what my notes were for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my predictions were... Honestly, my predictions were mostly on what they were going to focus on. I think, first of all, just in terms of the politics of where Six was serving and what Six was doing. In terms of England, the UK, whatever was bad enough to make him resign and knock over a personality test when asked about politics. I feel like we're going to get that because people kept saying, I love the line where 2 says, you walked away.
Is this a man that's up
And 6 says, no, I resigned. Like, there's a really big difference. And no, that's the same thing. You walk away, you resign. But for 6, obviously there was something happening in his job as a spy or whatever he was that was a breaking point for him where he said, no, I won't do this any longer. I won't betray whatever organization or country I'm working for, but I won't do this any longer. And he backed out. And obviously that didn't work so well for him. But, okay, so I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in the international politics of this, in terms of where is the prison, who's running it, because Cobb says he was in Germany when he was caught, and I know that Cobb is an agent, but that's, it's another country named. The fact that they have a lot of Poles and Czechs is like, why do you have them particularly? And then the whole idea of, like XilliX was saying, who's running it? Are there prisoners running it? Are there real guards running it? Or is it people ascending through the ranks? And then within that, that democracy, that sort of weird contrast of, you definitely have creepy overlords like 2 sitting in a big surveillance room with like the teeter-totter camera thing, which I love. That was so ridiculous.
The statues and stuff.
Right? And then you have the democracy, and you have, the real functioning of the town, and you have, I was really interested in the really dueling propaganda. The propaganda of, those things, those things don't go together, of, all the people, by the people, for the people, and then what they're... And then just the idea of questions are a burden to others, answers a prison to oneself, in a village where everyone's constantly being interrogated or under threat of interrogation. There's this, and a still tongue makes a happy life. All these weird contrasting, don't say anything, never reveal anything, and also, we will take what you know by force if necessary.
Perhaps
and then all just the layers of hierarchy and politics and...
It could just be a basic kind of reverse psychology thing, where they're by reinforcing like a uniform message of don't say anything, that kind of puts that in their mind. I'm not supposed to say anything, and then they actually end up saying something. It's probably going to be a little trickier than that, than just in like, hey, tell me, no, tell me, no, don't tell me, no, yes. But like it obviously has some design to it. Otherwise, that would just be a major oversight from the writer's point if they intentionally made all the propaganda kind of in conflict with the mission of the show, the mission of the the fucking village, you know.
Sorry, I just reached a point in my notes where I said, okay, so you see people in all stages of life. You see the senior center, but there are no kids around. And I said,
Yeah, no kids.
you know, what happens if like the gardener has a kid? You know, there's men and women on the island. What happens, you know? Are there lady spies around? Who was Hat Lady in her previous life? And then I just wrote, where does Babby go?
Where did Babby go?
Where did
Yeah,
that-
because there is a tiny little carriage in the very beginning, which can I touch real quick? I made a note near the clock tower when there's quick cuts of him running around. There's a sign that it seems to say hate, but there might be like another couple letters before it, or maybe one letter. But it
You have to look for
in the
that.
frame, it says hate. That's like one of the first signs you see, at least in the village, like the little green signs. And this is during a time of turmoil too. Like the camera is constantly cutting, boom, 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 and then he sees some umbrellas, which there were a few umbrellas here and there, including at the very end with the black and white umbrella. But
Oh,
I just
yeah.
thought that
At
was
the end, he gets his own
a
umbrella.
coincidence. Yeah.
He gets an umbrella? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, at the very end, when they've put him in, God, I love how pissed off he looks whenever they dress him. Like when he's in
I think he always
medical
looks
room
pissed
and he's
off,
in,
but
yeah, he's
especially
like, how
pissed
dare
off.
you put me in a comfortable robe? And then later in the episode, they put him in like they give him his new clothing and he has like the hat.
And he
He's just,
throws
like,
the
so
hat
pissed
in the
off to have
back.
that hat on.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
just
he's like,
fucking chucks
"Fuck
that
you,
hat. Yeah.
And he has an umbrella. He gets his umbrella at the end, and doesn't seem to enjoy that either. But
And then
Yeah,
we get
'cause, I
that
saw-
beautiful closing credits with the face.
like, boom!
It's just like, oh
Oh.
shit.
Remember, people, this was made in the
Oh.
60s.
You know, one thing I was bummed about is that they changed 2. Because I liked the original 2 better. He was creepier.
That's true. Yeah, I kind of liked...
And he says, I love that line. He says, a nice guy, Chambers, and so taut. Who describes another human being as taut? Like T-A-U-T. That's inappropriate. You know?
Yeah. So taut.
Oh, and he also has the line, sooner or later you'll tell me.
Sooner or later you'll
Sooner
tell
or
me.
later you'll
Sooner or
want
later
to.
you'll want to.
It will grow on you.
Yeah. I think that might lend credence to the whole people moving up the ranks thing.
Oh, and they also mentioned that they have their own graveyard. Nobody ever leaves.
We also have our own
They have their own
Yep.
graveyard.
You don't want to see that.
Interested in our, social
Yeah,
club,
that's the
I
graveyard. You'll probably be more interested in the country club or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm just like scrolling through my quotes.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much wrapping up here.
Yeah, I just have in all caps. Oh my gosh, look at that hat they gave him. Six disapproves of your straw hat. He just seemed really emphatic about it.
I have to wonder why
and
they
then-
changed 2 so fast, though. Was it just like a practical thing outside the show where like it was a really famous British actor that they got for the pilot, and like they're like, oh, this is gonna be some kind of draw for this show, and then like they swap him out because he was only on set for like a day, you know, just shot all this stuff.
I think so. I think it was intentional to show how precarious everyone's positions are, even when they're so high in rank that they're number 2. I was wondering who number 1 is, you know, if number 2 has that much
Yeah.
power. And I get the impression that like number 2, the original 2 had not sufficiently dealt with 6 the way that he was supposed to be. That somehow he had failed someone above for not getting this done as quickly as possible.
Possibly.
We haven't talked about Hat Lady at all. I
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
she's not that interesting
It's-
aside from her costume, which is ridiculous.
She's.
I think she's a
an-
potential first ally. Possibly.
It's.
I kind of figured she was like at least a triple agent.
Or that. Like,
Yeah.
we're just very good acting. That's what I wrote.
She was very difficult to pin down for me as like what kind of role she's serving in the plot.
I'm guessing Honey Trap.
Okay. Yeah. It's just, yeah, you
I mean,
don't
it
really
was
know
the
whose side
60s.
she's really on. But she's what?
I mean, I said it was the 60s. And I mean, you see her
Yeah.
report to
Never mind.
or whoever at the end, but then I think she also really is wanting to leave. Like, I think as much as she's willing to spy on Cobb and Six and willing to report on them to 2, she also wants to get the hell out.
Well, she wasn't spying on Six, or spying on Cobb, because she never found out that he was alive, and Cobb was definitely like, you know, be nice to her, or whatever.
Don't be too hard on the girl.
I don't think she was reporting back to them about Cobb, since Cobb was above her in rank, essentially. In fact, I think she was legitimately trying to escape with Cobb. Or is... Again, it's hard to tell, because maybe she's just a super good liar, and it's just impossible to tell where her loyalties lie.
Yeah.
So, basically, after I found out that she was working for them, I was like, wrote in my notes, don't trust anybody, Six. Like, you can't trust anybody in this town.
Trust no one.
At least not
Oh,
yet.
one thing that I was hoping for more of was the weird village hand signs, like the "Be Seeing You" sign. That was great. Like that happens like immediately. And Six even starts echoing it later. He tells someone "Be Seeing You," but he doesn't do the hand gesture.
You seeing her?
Like, I want more hand gestures. What are those? Are those a cultural thing, or are those like, does the village have its own weird, cultural shorthand style? How long has it been there? Like,
Yeah,
are there
that's a
maybe
good
like
question.
3rd generation servants who have been, their parents and parents and parents served in this weird place, or?
Because hand signals actually really do reinforce some very hard totalitarian stuff, A whole bunch of different hand signs can strengthen a community, I guess you could say. Because it's physically doing something in greeting. It conveys more
Do you know of, like,
outward
any-
respect.
Any dystopian
Like a
fiction that doesn't
comrade.
have some kind of hand signal, like, seriously.
It's using
Well, I
a
mean,
very... It's
I also
using
picked
a...
sign language. I don't necessarily associate hand signals with dystopia.
Well, sign language is for basic communication, but at least for this, like, some people really like to talk with their hands, and sometimes it can convey more importance or more urgency. If you physically do something with your words, that's giving it emphasis. So if it's a greeting, as in comrade, stick together, don't tell anybody, shush, play the game, participate in your democracy, in your country clubs, it'll grow on you.
And I just wonder, like,
Yeah.
what that came from, like, what that was symbolizing, was, like, "Be Seeing You," with like, that hand shape.
The
Okay. Everybody's okay. I don't know.
I'm okay to be here. I'm okay with being here.
Everything's okay.
I don't know, it almost makes me think of, like some kind of camera
Well,
thing. Like, you would be seeing the person through.
Yeah.
I do like that
Lens.
they say "be seeing you," because in this case, it is actually true that you will be seeing them.
Oh.
You will definitely,
Yeah.
most definitely see them again. This is like small town to the max. So,
Even the statues will be seeing you. Ooh, that creeps me out.
Statues, man, that was right.
that was pretty ridiculous.
Oh, and I like that there's the issue with there being cars or no cars in the village, where within the village there's only the taxis and that little
Only taxis.
like the little slow moving thing that the utilities guys
The
had.
tractor.
Where Six said, isn't that really slow? What do you do in emergencies? And the guy said, in an emergency,
In emergencies, we walk.
In an emergency, we walk.
Yeah. But you see cars, they have the buggy at the end where Six is trying to escape, and he's on, like, the beach suddenly, and there's that, and he, like, chases after the buggy like a dog, which was great, and he swings up. I like that scene.
Well, whatever. I think that's enough for this one. Regular shows after this, we may talk about other subjects beyond whatever our current show is that we're watching. We might leave some time in the show to like talk about other stuff we've been watching just on the side. Not as in depth, obviously. But I think for this one, I knew this was going to go very long because it's the first episode and we have all this kind of beginning things to talk about. So from now on, I
it's
think
been
we're doing
almost
chunks.
an hour and a half.
Yeah. I have a feeling from now on we should be doing chunks of about 2 or 3 episodes apiece. In any case, we have been watching The Prisoner. And so say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Be seeing you.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Oh yeah.
Be seeing you.